Good afternoon. This is Mayor Mike, and this is our third version of Ask the Mayor. Today we have several questions, and I'll try to fairly quickly read them and then provide the community with some answers. So today's first question comes from Danielle. What is happening with the walkway from Tiffany Drive to Mcauliffe Park? There were talks about taking the passageway completely down. That would be a huge disappointment for the neighborhood residents who utilize the park for walking, summer athletic events, and kids going to Norris School. There have been a lot of construction vehicles in the area off and on, but no repairs or demolitions. What's the update? So I asked John Lawler, he's our Public Works Director. I asked him the very same question Danielle asked to me. John replies back, that area is one of our most critical stormwater problems. The earthen dam and culvert clogs regularly due to a pipe failure, and this causes dangerous impoundments. Now, Danielle, I had to look up the word impoundment, and basically it means a lot of debris gets caught in there, furthering the inability of the earthen dam to kind of clear the water. So basically, there's a clog there. Doug, who's our town engineer, and John Lawler discussed the solutions, and they're designing something that would eliminate the earthen dam, but still provide some type of pedestrian crossing at the brook. So while you see a lot of activity there, the town is still not in a position to figure out how we completely fix it. But what I kind of discern from all of this is that we have no intentions of removing the crossing, or if we do, to get at the brook or the dam, we will replace it. So be patient with us. The construction vehicles coming and going are attempting to deal with the problem, but at the end of the day, there should be a pedestrian crossing there, albeit it may be closed down. So hopefully that's good news. The last thing John says is, in the meantime, we continue to maintain the culvert so that the dam does not impound and overtop as it has in the recent past. So Danielle, we hope that answers the question. The next question comes from George, and it's a two-part question. What kind of measures are you taking to ease the burden of the budget in town? And George, I can tell you that as the finance director for 23 years, the town of East Hartford's budget is the smallest it could possibly be while delivering the host of services that we do. And the services I want to remind everybody that our town gets that other towns do not include bulky waste collection curbside, municipal solid waste collection curbside, paramedic level intercept. I hope to God that no one ever needs that, but unfortunately we run 10,000 calls a year. We provide snow plowing, we provide street lights, which some other towns do not provide. We provide sidewalks. So there's a host of services. There's even a $700 local option tax credit for the elderly, those that are 65 years old and live in their house. There's free in-town transportation so that you can get to the grocery store and so forth. So my point is there's a host of services in that those are all embedded in the budget. But to answer George's question, we bid out our gasoline, we bid out our diesel fuel, we bid out our oil, we bid out our electricity. We've added solar panels to cut down on our cost. Everywhere we can possibly skinny through collective bargaining, collective bidding, we do. As an example, to buy our prescription drugs, we've put out a bid. Our health insurance is put out to bid so that we get the lowest cost. Labor contracts, which are our single largest cost in the budget, are regularly negotiated. They're negotiated at about 2%, and those go before the town council. So George, I'm going to tell you that the town of East Hartford's budget is susceptible to the same stresses as your home budget. We have to pay inflation-adjusted prices to continue to deliver the services that we do. It's also a litigious society, meaning what we do and how we do it is subject to lawsuits. We get sued about once a week. Sometimes the judge dismisses those. Sometimes the judge finds us at fault. We might pay $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 for a slip and fall claim on our sidewalks. So my point being is we are subject to a lot of external stresses, including litigation, including inflation, including simply the rising cost of doing business in order to provide those services. Notwithstanding, we provide almost $100 million to the school system to educate nearly 7,000 kids. So we are in a business that unfortunately costs a lot of money. I would say that on your town website, you can go to the finance drop down. Every single transaction is denoted in the budget. We budget as what they call zero-based budgeting, so we build the budget up from the ground. The town council absolutely takes a scalpel to it every year and cuts the things they don't think we need. But at the end of the day, we do pretty well delivering quite a bit of services. And I want to remind everybody, this is also in the budget message, of 169 towns, we have low property values, we have a high mill rate. Neither one of those are important. The per capita tax burden is important. In East Hartford, right now, is at 109, ranked 109 of 169 communities. So that means for the services that we deliver, for the taxes that you pay, we are in the bottom third of per capita tax burden for every community in the state of Connecticut. That is not a license for your community to spend, but it puts into context the services that you receive and the money that you pay in taxes to have those services provided. So George, hopefully I've provided that answer. Your second question is, why do we still see almost the whole fleet of fire trucks every day at ShopRite? And George, the answer to that is we have 5 fire stations, and each of the fire stations runs a paramedic out of the fire company. The entire fire company stays together. Each one of the firefighters works 24 hours straight, so they eat all 3 meals at the firehouse as a group. They travel both as a pack, so to speak, and with the equipment. So they actually are at ShopRite because we encourage them to use their time that they would otherwise prepare and spend money on meals to buy the ingredients at a local store, go back to the firehouse and make whatever it is, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. In the event that they get a call where they're at ShopRite, they will ultimately respond to the call from there. I want to remind you of a couple of different things. Well, there's no question that the predominance of time that they are there is related to buying meal prep and staying as a group so that they can continue to deliver emergency medical care. I have found when I've questioned the very same thing you are, I'll give you an example. I went to ShopRite several years ago thinking they were buying their meals, but they were actually treating a resident who had fainted near the deli section. And the firefighters actually completed that particular patient's grocery list. The gentleman needed some milk, he needed some bread, he needed some lunch meat. While the paramedics were treating them, the rest of the firefighters, true story, bought the rest of the rest of the groceries. The gentleman's daughter was called. He didn't require anything more than no ride to the hospital or anything. But the daughter of the gentleman was very thankful that 1, her father was safe, 2, the firefighters were there to treat him, and then 3, they finished the grocery shopping. So again, I won't call it a necessary evil, but we keep the fire companies together in the event that they have to respond from wherever they are. And occasionally you will see them, not as often as they're buying goods and services, but occasionally you will see them at some of the larger both businesses and shopping malls, because they also do fire inspections. They're making sure the snow is cleared from the areas. They're making sure that the doors are free and clear of impediments and so forth. And on occasion, they may be there for a fire call. So I would offer those 4 or 5 reasonings out, but you are correct. Predominantly, they're buying goods and services to do meal prep back at the firehouse. So that answers that one. Jumping back, George, the town of East Hartford, related to budgets, also provides a $700 local option benefit for 65-year-old seniors who are on a limited income. That further reduces their tax burden. So George, if you're 65 or older, you live in your own home, you may want to go onto the assessor's website and take a look at that. We also provide tax relief for veterans, and if you're blind, there's additional set of tax relief, or if you're disabled. So I would encourage you, if you meet any of those criteria, go out to the assessor's site and you could ease your tax burden that way. But I can assure you, as the former finance director, as the current mayor, The budgets that are put forth are very fiscally conservative, very frugal. And again, there are 6 Democrats and 3 Republicans that jointly review those budgets. So if you have any indication that there's areas where you want to cut, you can view that under the finance website. Full disclosure, full transparency there. I welcome your suggestions, but your community does a pretty good job holding the line on spending. The next question comes from Kristen. We live in Rivermead Point North, which I believe, if I understand it, is the mobile home park down toward the Hockenham area, and they've heard rumors that the state is involved. Kristen, I have not heard that. That's not to say they are or they aren't. I just haven't heard any rumors. If you want to give me a call, my office number is 860-291-7201. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on what you're hearing, and I'm happy to put a call into the state. But at the moment, nothing has come to my attention regarding Rivermead Point North. The next question is from William. He said, why are we not only selling the theater property for $1 and then giving the 30-year tax abatement? So, William, it's pretty simple. It's math. And I think you've heard me in both the Control Tower presentation on January 19th, as well as in the paper. A developer will not come here to lose money. A developer will only come here if it makes economic sense for that developer to invest. In this particular case, it's an $81 million development. It was always planned to use state bonding money, $6 million, to acquire that theater site, which has been blighted and vacant since 2006. The town needed to own that and control that. So that $6 million of bonding bought the site and basically demolished the old Showcase Cinema that was there. The state knows that it must help communities like East Hartford who really don't have the wherewithal or the per capita income to attract developers, whereas the open competitive market would otherwise have had to demolish that. It simply makes no sense for a developer to come in here and incur that expense. So with the site level, we then were able to market it. The reason we sold it as $1 is because the developer will use it as equity to secure the rest of the $81 million needed to build that facility. So again, it's part of a larger, more complex deal. But here's where the math equation comes into play. There's only 2 options. Do we leave that particular property vacant for another 27 years? That was actually the term of the deal. We could collect $125,000 a year for 27 years, and that would total about $3.5 million. So let's remember that number. By developing it with a minimum of 360 apartments, up to possibly 550 apartments, the developer, by setting the tax at a fixed amount, knows what their costs of both construction and ongoing operation is over that 27 years. Only with those 2 known variables can the developer project that that is a profit-making enterprise over those 27 years and willingly will contribute the necessary equity to get that $81 million loan. So if you remember, I said option 1 was do nothing and collect $3.5 million over 27 years. Option 2 is to basically set the taxes on each of those units for the next 27 years and instead collect $27.5 million over that 27-year period. So to me, it's a fairly simple project to agree to. $3.5 million to do nothing, $27.5 million over the same period to do a set of amenity-rich apartments. Now, here's the spinoff, which is absolutely necessary. Notwithstanding that the math at $27.5 million is a better number, we now believe we will bring in those 360 to 550 apartments, $15 million of new disposable income. You heard earlier in the this particular taping that East Hartford has very low per capita income. That's some of the reason why Walmart's here, Walmart's not here, Target's not here, Kohl's is not here. Our per capita income, the amount that our citizens have to spend on discretionary items, is insignificant compared to our neighbors in South Windsor, Glastonbury, or even Manchester, which has slightly higher per capita income. So if you're a business person, you're going to land in a community where there's higher disposable income. So that being said, the reason we're doing this development has as much to do with the disposable income that we're going to bring in from those new residents than it does the cost that the town set the taxes at. So again, I leave you with $3.5 million versus $27.5 million. It's a simple math equation. East Hartford will always overpay for development, which is why development has been few and far between. And until we get the per capita incomes up and can attract the Walmarts, the Kohl's, and the other retail establishments, which I think are 5 to 10 years away, we're always going to overpay for development. So I'm trying to be as transparent and upfront with you as I can. It's a matter of economic math. Only when a developer can realize a profit will they invest in East Hartford. Hopefully that answers it. The next question comes from Art. Now that COVID metrics have changed, will there be a raise the flag for the ceremony of life at Town Hall? And the answer is yes. Kate from my office will be reaching out to you, Art, and we're looking forward to having that in the month of April. The last question comes from Jose. Why did I hire Melissa Mccaw? So a little bit of background that I don't think some people know. Melissa Mccaw formerly was the Hartford Finance Director and was selected by Governor Ned Lamont to head up the Office of Policy and Management, which is called the Governor's Budget Office. She was installed there in January of 2019. And as luck would have it, I left my finance director position and took a position as an undersecretary at the Office of Policy and Management, the Governor's Budget Office, in October of 2019. I saw firsthand what a generational talent she was. She has a knack at moving obstinate governmental entities farther and faster in terms of management ability. So she is a talent that I singularly recognized, just as the governor did, just as Mayor Bronin did. Now, there is a scandal going on right now. At the moment, that doesn't have anything to do with Melissa Mccaw. One of her undersecretaries, actually her deputy budget director, Costa DeMantis, who headed the school construction and grant program. By the way, that statutorily reports to the commissioner of DAS. It does not statutorily report to Melissa Mccaw. So when the newspapers figure that out, and there is an FBI probe into that particular office, and I'm watching it carefully, at the moment, that probe has little, if anything, to do with Secretary Mccaw. Yet she responds daily to the innuendo and so forth related to that investigation. It's a governor's election cycle. Bob Stefanowski is likely to be the Republican candidate. Governor Lamont will be defending his election. That is certainly circulating in the back, but it has little, if anything, to do with the generational talent that I see in Melissa Mccaw. Had I not been working for the Office of Policy and Management for 2 years, and had I seen anything irregular, I would have blown the whistle. Because I was that close and I saw her work ethic and commitment, I'm happy to bring her aboard as my finance director. East Hartford will be better served. As the days, weeks, and months that go forward roll out, if I find anything to the contrary, I'll be the first to move on it. But at the moment, she's caught up in something not of her doing, and at the moment, the governor and I recognize that. Happy to bring her aboard. Again, my number is 860-291-7201. I've been fully transparent here as to my reasons, but if you'd like to have a further discussion, I'd welcome it. So today is Wednesday. We'll be posting these on the web shortly. Thank you for your patience and keep the questions coming. Take care.